and welcome to the very first video for AP Stats Chapter 1. Today we're looking at Section 1.0 notes, and this is just kind of an introduction. I have a lot of definitions already up here, so this might be a good moment to pause the video and get those filled in, or pull out an AP Stats textbook, or look at the keyed version of my notes if it's kind of hard to read through my handwriting. So take a moment, pause, get these filled in, and then I'll do some explanation. All right, so the very first thing we define is the vocab word statistics, because we're in a stats class, and this is your first stats class likely. You've done some stats maybe in some past math classes, but this is the first course that is all about statistics, and it is defined as the science of data. So this is the one science class I've always liked. Don't tell the science teachers. The first thing that we're going to define here within the course of statistics is individuals versus variable. Often when we think of the word individuals, we think of people, right? Individuals are people. Well, in stats, it's a little bit more broad than people. Individuals is the objects described by a set of data. So anytime you have data that's describing something, those things it's describing are the individuals. So that could mean we could have data on people or animals or plants or objects, right? We could have data on food, the number of orange M&Ms within a bag of M&Ms. So know that individuals is not just people, it's whatever thing the data is describing. Variable is the next piece, and that's any characteristic of an individual. So there's a lot of ways that characteristic could be identified, and so it actually is broken into two subcategories. We have a categorical variable and quantitative variable. So when we're talking about data in this class, it either fits into categorical or quantitative, so just know that we'll always be dividing it up between the two. Categorical variables places an individual into one of several groups or categories, something like zip code, city, state, gender, race, letter grade. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on for categorical variables. Quantitative variables, the word quantitative kind of gives it away, but it takes numerical values for which it makes sense to find an average. So that's important to recognize that quantitative variables are something that makes sense to find an average, because a zip code is technically a number, but it wouldn't make sense to find an average of a zip code. So that's why zip code is a categorical variable. Quantitative variables are things like age, weight, score on a test, the actual number score versus like a letter grade on a test, okay? Things that it makes sense to find an average of are quantitative variables. The last thing we're going to define on this front page of notes is a distribution. Distribution of a variable tells us what values the variable takes and how often it takes these values. So if I were to open up a bag of M&Ms and count how many orange M&Ms I had and draw that on like a number line, and then I gave everybody else in the class different bags of M&Ms, and everybody counted up their number of orange M&Ms. We all graphed how many orange M&Ms we each had in our bags. That would be creating a distribution. We will be creating distributions for everything we do in here, so we're going to be dealing a lot with that. Those are all of our graphical representations that really give us a visual to the data.